This may have been one of my favorite movies of the year until that third act happened. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, and welcome to Popcorn and Soda. As always, I'm your host, Lal, and I appreciate each and every one of you making me a small part of your day. Longlegs. You guys know me. I love a good horror movie. In fact, horror is probably. No, I take that back. Horror is my favorite genre of any movies because I feel that a horror movie can bring out emotions in you, fears in you, the excitement, the thrills that most movies cannot, once done correctly, and if done correctly. And chances are the way horror movies are done in the 20th century, 21st century, that's usually not the case. 9 out of 10 horror movies just absolutely suck because they're all pretty they follow a formula. There's not much creativity and originality involved in it. And now here comes a movie like Longlegs that just took the internet by storm with its viral marketing and all of that. I didn't even know this movie was coming out until literally like 3 weeks before it came out. And then that's where all those creepy little viral posters and TV spots and all of these things started coming out. And that's really when you're like, okay, what is this? I'm curious. So going into Longlegs, I had super high expectations. The film is directed by Perkins. It stars, of course, everyone's favorite scream queen, Maika Monroe. And of course, we have the Academy Award winning, the very talented, the freakout king in many ways, Mr. Nick Cage playing Longlegs himself. So what did I think of this film? Is this a movie that I would absolutely recommend to everyone? Is this a movie I had a great time with? So as always, we're going to go through the positives of the films, things that didn't work for me, and at the end of the day, is this a film that I would recommend for you guys to watch? So a brief synopsis of the film, it's about a serial killer known as the Longlegs Killer, in which this small town finds that there are a bunch of different creepy coincidences and creepy mass murders that are happening within families, and they all find a letter in the house written from the Longlegs Killer. And that is when enter Miss Maika Monroe, who is an FBI agent who does have somewhat of a connection to this entire case, as she is just picking things up really quick. And that's where you start to realize, okay, not all is what it seems. So right off the bat, I absolutely love a serial killer movie. And a serial killer movie, when it's done right, is the best type of horror in my end. I get it, there's supernatural, there's ghosts, there's ghouls, but I think a serial killer movie can be considered a horror movie in the right cases. And a movie like this, absolutely, it's truly a horror film. And what I love the most about this film, and this is the hallmark of every good horror movie, is the cinematography. So we're going to start there. I love the way this film is shot because a horror movie is all about creating that atmosphere, right? We can't have, cheap jump scares every 5 seconds because that is what takes you out of the movie. Because then you can't really even enjoy the movie. It doesn't mean as much after the first or second one because you're like, okay, it's, someone's going to walk through that door or she's going to turn around and see, Longlegs. But the movie didn't rely on that. And what the movie relied on was just very smart filmmaking in terms of how it was shot. So you had a lot of like long, wide angles. You had a lot of close-ups. You had a lot of just beautiful, just rich nature and just the houses, the little board that had all the photos of the victims. And it was very immersive. And that is what created this mood of the film. That was just very trippy throughout the entire movie. It had that like uneasiness to it, and I really enjoyed that. I truly did, because I think that was equally as much of a character in the movie as the actual leads of the film. So that was number one. I truly enjoyed the cinematography. Number two was the soundtrack. This complements the cinematography because once you kind of pair the two together, it is just magic. And it was a throwback to like the 80s and 90s kind of slasher film serial killer music and score, and that's what I really liked about it because it enhanced it that much more. It made it more creepier, and I'm a sucker for those kinds of things. You guys know me well enough at this point to know that I love just retro vibes when it comes to certain types of movies once like it's done correctly. And I really like the music of of this movie because it just kind of gave it that added umph on top of that cinematography. It made that uneasiness so much more uneasy, and on top of that, it made that just vibe that this long legs killer is around you at all times. And even though you don't see him, more on that a bit later, as much in the film, but it creates that like looming vibe where you know this killer is just around the corner somewhere. And I loved the score of this film. All right, so we got cinematography, we got the score. The third thing, and this is going to be an asterisk, the story. I thought the story was super cool. And the reason why I say an asterisk, that'll come a bit later. I love just good thought out stories. I love when people go after making these kinds of films because I think there's a big gap in proper horror and thriller. And I think the genres kind of become so like saturated with like not so good movies that when a good movie does come out, it stands out so much more. So I really enjoyed the story because like yes, you can say maybe it's not the most creative thing ever, but at the same time, I haven't seen a movie like Longlegs in terms of how it's presented and the story unfolds in a long time. I kind of consider it in the same like realm as, you know, Seven or The Zodiac because those movies create that uneasiness. So I really like the story of the film. Now, the asterisk on that is I really enjoyed the film for the first two parts. And the reason why I say parts is because the movie is broken down into like, I don't remember if it's parts or chapters, but I think it was like, you know, three parts. And literally they have a title card saying part one, part two, part three. The first two parts of this movie I absolutely loved, and the story had a big thing to do with it. Number four, the thing that I really enjoyed about this film was the leads. I thought Maika Monroe's character as this like hardened but kind of trippy and weird like FBI agent was awesome. Her sergeant in the film, he was great as well. And then, of course, Longlegs himself. I absolutely loved that character because it was such a trippy, weird, like whoever you think is like a serial killer in your mind, the way this character was designed and the way this character acted like. If you saw him in a police line, you'd point out, yeah, that's the guy. So I truly love that. Now, kind of going off of that, what I really enjoyed, because I'm really focusing on the first two parts of the movie because those were the parts I really enjoyed. And I think that those parts alone are worth price of admission. Like, you know, regardless of what's gonna come. I loved how they used and incorporated the Longlegs killer in the movie in the first two chapters. It was like this, like I said, it's like this looming force that's just there and you can feel its presence and its vibe. And you see Longlegs in just like bits and pieces. And I love that. Oh, before I go further, the opening of this film, quite possibly one of the best opening scenes in a horror movie I've ever seen. It was so magical. It's like, you know, the letterbox aspect ratio, it is creepy. It just showed Longlegs at its finest, and it was just so trippy. Right into the title card. The opening of this film is probably, yeah, I'll say it. It is my favorite opening of any movie I've seen so far this year. That's how good it was. So those are things that I really enjoyed about this film. Now, here's the thing. This movie to me went in a different creative direction than what I would have liked and what I didn't like. But it's going to be each to their own. But I have to talk about things that I didn't like. And to be honest, the entire third act, I did not like at all. I thought this movie fell off a cliff. And it was just one thing after another, after another, after another that it did not need. The Longlegs killer was best utilized when it's like very minimal. We see Longlegs hair, a bit there, a bit there. But when we get fully engraved into this character, I think it takes away from the actual character of Longlegs. It's kind of like the less is more approach, like the Blair Witch Project, where you don't necessarily even see the witch. And I think Longlegs could have really benefited from just having Longlegs as like the backdrop of this film, rather than at a point in the film where it full out becomes like, a full out character in the film. So I didn't like that because I think it took away from my appreciation of the first two acts and how they set up Longlegs. So that I just did not like at all. The second thing I didn't like at all is that there is a supernatural element to this film. So the first two halves do such a great job of creating this Seven kind of vibe where it's truly a film about a serial killer and a detective, spending day and night trying to figure out exactly what the motives are behind this, deciphering clues and codes. But then there's a level of disbelief that comes in the form of something supernatural, which I think kind of completely shoves away all the world building that happened in the first two acts. So I love a good supernatural film, but I didn't think that needed to be in this film. Just the fact that this Longlegs killer is the antagonist of the film as it is, I didn't think they needed that one extra layer that they added in. And I won't go into it because, we don't talk about spoilers on the show here. So that was a big letdown for me because the second that happened, I was just from being on the edge of my seat in the first half of the movie. I kind of just became like, come on, man. And that is my universal feeling of when I know I've lost a movie or when a movie's lost me, where I'm just sitting back and I'm just like not really even invested in it as much as I was in the first two chapters. And I think that was a big letdown because I loved this movie so much for the first hour of it. And then I just think it took a different direction that is just different to what I like. So that is something I didn't like. And then lastly, it's interesting. Like it's a double-edged sword. Like the marketing of this film, like painted this as, the scariest movie of the year, this, that. I give them all the credit in the world. Neon, I give them so much credit for the marketing of this. Elevation Pictures here in Canada, like so much credit because for a little span, and we live in this like social media world now where things go hot, they go viral for like 1 to 2 weeks, and then you just completely forget about it. So I think like in terms of like the dollars and cents, I think that greatly helped the movie because everyone wanted to go watch it. But it also set up expectations. And like for someone like myself, I was so let down by the end of the film. And you see, for me personally, a movie that I know I'm going to really keep watching over and over again is something that sticks with me after I watch it the first time. There are some movies where I have watched it back and I'm like, you know what? That actually is a pretty good movie. And maybe just the vibe that I was in watching it at the first viewing just wasn't, proper to watching a movie. So I always give a movie a second chance. And I absolutely will give Longlegs another shot as well. Because I want to see if maybe I'm missing something in the third act. I don't think I am, but I'll absolutely give it another shot. And just this movie, by the time it ended, like an hour later, I wasn't even thinking about it. I kind of moved on with my day. And that was disappointing because a good horror movie is the one where, you're in your bed at night, you're just laying down, kind of peek over at the closet door, make sure your door's closed. Those are the movies that stick with you. And I think Longlegs had so much potential to be that movie, but it just wasn't. And, it is what it is, right? So, as you kind of put a bow on everything, you guys know me. I don't have a score ranking system. I don't have a star system. To me, art is in the eye of the beholder. Something I like, you may not. And something you like, I may not. And hey, that's the beauty of cinema, my friends. So the way I kind of rank my movies is, would I watch this in a movie theater? Is this a good streaming movie? Or is this like a rainy day movie where you're kind of just flipping through the channels, trying to find something, and you kind of play this in the background while you're kind of on your phone? So, to me, I'm in the camp where I think this is a good streaming movie. But if you're really, really into it and if you're really fascinated and the social media viral campaign has won you over, watch it in a theater because a theater does enhance the mood and atmosphere of this film. It absolutely does. But for me, I think this is a good streaming movie where you can watch it at home, watch with family, friends, whatever, and watch it in the comfort of your own space. And your own space kind of becomes immersive as part of the story. Because I just think that the movie really let me down in the last act. And it may not let you down. Who knows? Maybe some of you will like it. And to be fair, a lot of people have liked the third act of the film. And hey, I'm happy for you. I'm so happy that you enjoyed a film that I didn't. Because at the end of the day, films are an investment of time, my friends. And that is something we never get back. So I hope everyone enjoyed Longlegs, whether they watched it in a theater, whether they're, really intrigued by it, by the social media campaign and everything. To me, this is a good streaming movie. I probably won't watch this again in theaters. There are a lot of movies that give it a second go in the theaters. I think this may be one I'll wait until it is on a streaming platform and I'll kind of give it another go because I appreciated what Oz tried to do in this film because he tried to make a really good thriller, suspense, serial killer horror movie. And I respect that. And I admire that because we need more directors that are willing to step up and take those chances. And like I said, there are a lot of positives in this film. Maika Monroe completely crushed it. She is such an amazing actress. Nicolas Cage is just kooky as Longlegs, and I'm all for it. I absolutely love it. The bits and pieces in the first act, the second act that we see Longlegs are by far some of the creepiest imagery I've seen in any horror movie in a long, long time. So big ups to Nicolas Cage, but sadly it just didn't hit the mark for me. But hey, that's just my thoughts. So turning it back to you guys, what did you guys think of Longlegs? Was the hype too much? Was it overhyped? Was it underhyped? Did you like the ending of the film? Comment below and please do share. And as always, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could take 5 seconds out of your day to like this video, hit that little notification bell, and if you've not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. That's all I got for you today. Longlegs. I hope you all enjoyed it. If not, that's okay. It's just movies. And till next time, I hope you all have a lovely day.